Writing your PhD methodology. Chapter Integrated Guide with Prompts, Examples, and Checklists. 1. Introduction to Methodology. Writing prompts. What is the purpose of this chapter within your PhD? How does your methodology reflect your research paradigm and questions? How can you introduce the chapter's structure and intent clearly? Example phrasing. This chapter outlines the methodology employed to address the research questions of this study. Drawing inspiration from the liminal space of a morning walk between darkness and dawn, the methodology reflects a deliberate and reflective approach to inquiry. The chapter begins by situating the research within an interpretivist paradigm, followed by a detailed description of the research design, sampling, data collection, analysis procedures, reflexivity, ethical considerations, and study limitations. This structure guides the reader through the research journey, clarifying the methods that enable a robust and credible investigation. Checklist. Clearly state the chapter's purpose. Position research within a paradigm. Outline chapter structure. 2. Research design. Writing prompts. Which research design best fits your study and why? How does this design suit your research questions and objectives? What is the scope and boundary of your design? Example phrasing. A qualitative case study design was chosen for this research to enable an in-depth exploration of the phenomenon within its real-life context. Insert reference. This design was selected because it allows for flexibility and rich contextual understanding, akin to choosing a walking route that traverses varied terrain and uncovers hidden aspects of the landscape. The case study approach supports the examination of complex social processes and multiple perspectives relevant to the research questions. Checklist. Name your research design clearly. Justify the choice with scholarly references. Describe scope and boundaries. 3. Sampling strategy. Writing prompts. Who are your participants or data sources? Why did you select these specifically? How many participants, data points, and why? What are the criteria for inclusion or exclusion? Example phrasing. Purposive sampling was employed to select participants who could provide rich, relevant insights related to the study's focus. The sample consisted of 15 individuals who met specific inclusion criteria based on their experience and knowledge of the phenomenon under study. This approach ensures that the participants function as knowledgeable companions on the research journey, enabling a depth of understanding rather than breadth. Checklist. Describe your sampling method and rationale. Explain sample size and selection criteria. Address limitations related to sampling. 4. Data collection methods. Writing prompts. What methods will you use to gather data? Why are these methods appropriate for your design and questions? How will you conduct data collection practically? Example phrasing. Data were collected through semi-structured interviews, participant observation, and document analysis. Semi-structured interviews provided the opportunity for in-depth conversations, allowing participants to express their views openly. Participant observation enabled the researcher to capture contextual and nonverbal information, while document analysis offered historical and institutional perspectives. These methods collectively allowed the researcher to listen attentively and observe carefully, mirroring the heightened awareness experienced during a dawn walk. Checklist. List and describe data collection methods. Justify methods with literature. Explain practical procedures. Discuss how quality and reliability are ensured. 5. Data analysis procedures. Writing prompts. How will you analyze your data? What framework or tools will you use? What steps will your analysis involve? Example phrasing. Thematic analysis was used to interpret the data, following Braun and Clark's 2006 six-phase framework. This method involves familiarization with the data, generating initial codes, searching for themes, reviewing themes, defining and naming themes, and producing the final report. The analytical process is iterative and reflective, allowing the researcher to read the signs within the data, identifying patterns and insights relevant to the research questions. Checklist. Specify data analysis methods. Describe the step-by-step process. Connect analysis to research questions. Mention software tools if used. 6. Reflexivity and positionality. Writing prompts. How might your background influence the research? What assumptions do you bring? How will you remain critically self-aware? Example phrasing. As a researcher, I acknowledge my positionality and the influence it may have on the research process. Coming from a rural background and having a personal connection to liminal spaces, I remain aware of how my experiences shape data interpretation. Throughout the study, I engaged in reflexive journaling and peer debriefing to critically examine potential biases and maintain transparency in the research. Checklist. Reflect on your positionality and potential biases. Describe strategies to maintain reflexivity. Link reflexivity to research credibility. 7. Ethical considerations. Writing prompts. What ethical approvals are needed? How will you ensure informed consent? How will you protect participant confidentiality? How will you respect cultural sensitivities? Example phrasing. Ethical approval for the study was obtained from the university's Research Ethics Committee. Reference number insert here. Participants were fully informed about the study's purpose and their rights, including the right to withdraw at any time. Confidentiality and anonymity were maintained by assigning pseudonyms and securely storing data. Cultural sensitivity was prioritized throughout, respecting participants' contexts and values. Checklist. Document ethical approvals. Explain consent and confidentiality procedures. Address cultural or contextual ethics. Discuss any ethical challenges and mitigations. 8. Limitations and scope. Writing prompts. What are the methodological limitations? How might these affect your findings? How have you addressed or acknowledged these limitations? Example phrasing. While this study provides in-depth insights into the phenomenon, it is limited by its focus on a specific context and relatively small sample size. These factors may affect the generalizability of findings. Additionally, the interpretivist paradigm prioritizes subjective meaning, which may introduce researcher bias despite reflexive efforts. These limitations are acknowledged and contextualized within the study's scope. Checklist. Identify key limitations clearly. Discuss impacts on validity and reliability. Explain mitigation strategies. Maintain balanced, transparent tone. 9. Writing style and structure. Writing prompts. How will you organize your chapter for clarity? Are headings guiding the reader logically? Is the tone academic, clear, and accessible? Are all methodological choices linked back to your research questions? Example phrasing. Throughout the methodology chapter, clear and concise language is used to ensure accessibility without sacrificing academic rigor. Headings and subheadings are employed to guide the reader logically through the sections. Each methodological choice is linked explicitly to the research questions to demonstrate coherence and intentionality. Checklist. Use clear, logical headings and subheadings. Maintain formal academic tone. Ensure smooth transitions between sections. Link methods consistently to research aims. Happy learning!